Welcome to weekly current affairs class. Today we will be dealing with topics from security as well as society. The first topic that we will be starting is with respect to quelling micronutrient malnutrition. You must have seen the news with respect to Hindu newspaper. The article was well shared basically. Okay, so first of all, we should, before going into the detailed strategy of how India basically entails to end its micronutrient malnutrition, we need to know the basic strategy or basic status. Okay, that may also be helpful with respect to your means answer writing. You can quote this data with respect to your introduction of the answers or while substantiating the points. If you get across a directive that is elucidate, substantiate or elaborate with respect to these type of directives, you can use these statistics. First thing that we have at hand is obviously the most recent one, National Family Health Survey 5, which reported that every second Indian woman is anemic. Okay, and every third child is stunted and malnourished, and every fifth child is wasted. So the task at hand for you is what you have to look at home. What is stunting? Okay, that you will be doing. What is wasting with respect to, not as such wasting, with respect to the child malnutrition. Okay, these two terms you will be looking up forward to. Okay, there is a recent statistics which states that every second Indian woman is anemic, and you must know that it is a very worrisome statistics when 50% of your population is women and every third child is stunted and every fifth is wasted. This is also a worrisome statistics for us. Why? Because they constitute the future demographic dividend. Okay, and if we want to ensure that this demographic dividend does not turn into demographic liability, so we need to ensure that this malnutrition is well tackled. Next, obviously you have Global Hunger Index, that is 2021, which ranked India 101 out of 116 countries. Obviously a very worrisome ranking for India again, and it stated that 15.3% of population is undernourished. Again, you can quote this data with respect to your introduction, with respect to your points. And at last you have Global Nutrition Report 2021, which states that stunting among children in India is higher than the Asian average of 21.8%. okay, any one or two basically can be quoted with respect to the demand of the question. So this obviously, as the statistics are updated, new ranking come, you will update them. Moving forward, so India, as you know, basically with respect to the statistics of Global Inequality Index or Global Nutrition Report that we have seen and National Family Health Survey 5 that we have seen, India is very well worried about how these statistics highlight the worrisome conditions, as we have already discussed with respect to your demographic dividend. Further, it is can be a blot upon India's economic growth. For example, if country's health is not insured, these individuals will not be able to economically participate. Okay, which means that they will not be able to they will not be very productive and efficient in their working. They will be having more sick leaves at their work. Further, the income that they will be generating from this participant activity, income will not be used for asset creation or for health and basically education investment, but it will be used to tackle sickness. Okay, which will increase out of pocket expenditure. Then further, what will happen with respect to this? When out of pocket expenditure will increase, the rate of poverty will further increase, and when the rate of poverty will increase, when people will not have money to invest in their human capital or their human capability, their health will further deteriorate, and it will create a vicious circle. Okay, so India's economic growth, India's future demographic dividend, reaping of the demographic dividend basically depends upon how we are well tackling this issue of malnutrition, and India has adopted many strategies with respect to these things. First of all is with respect to that is your food fortification. You must have heard about it. Okay, food fortification. Then next one is with respect to that is biofortification that India has used. Then is a nutrient education. What is nutrient education? Is creating awareness among people that what is a nutritious food, what is a calorie intake that should be there. Then wash strategy, very important strategy. You must be dealing with it in detail. Obviously, the article uses the term only wash, so that we can not discuss in detail here. But this is a task for you also. Water, sanitation and hygiene strategy, very important strategy adopted by India. Then is inclusion of micronutrients in PDS and midday meal schemes. Obviously these news are also well covered with respect to current affairs. Every alternate day you get a news with respect to the PDS system or the midday meal scheme. But the thing that we will be discussing here is the article focuses upon the issues of food fortification. So we will be dealing with it in detail, but by yourselves you have to do is wash strategy, very important. What you should need to know about wash, first of all I will give you a hint. Basically what should be your framework, what is it, okay, what are its components, then strategy that is adopted by the government, then its achievements, then basically its criticism, issues that due to which it cannot be fully implemented, and most importantly whether it was able to bring attitudinal change with respect to your ethics. This is your ethical dimension, that whether your attitudinal change basically happened in the Indian population, in the mindset or not. This is what you have to deal with it. Okay, so dealing with the issue of micronutrients, food fortification at first. So what is food fortification? Very easy thing. Okay, it is a practice of deliberately increasing the content of one or more micronutrients. For example, that if your population is basically iron deficient, okay, so what this do is it artificially increases the content of that particular micronutrient, so that deficiency can be tackled with. It can be with respect to any deficiency, any crucial or chronic micronutrient disability that the population is facing. The government will go for the efforts to increase the content of that particular micronutrient in the food to improve the nutritional quality of the food. The addition of micronutrients can help restore the micronutrient content that is lost during the processing, and for you have example also for that. For example, rice and wheat are fortified with iron. Rice and wheat are fortified with iron, but remember this, there are 6 to 7 micronutrients that are there, specifically 6, and if any micronutrient is lagging within the food, the content of that micronutrient is artificially increased. Or if the government sees that our population is anemic, for example, they have an iron deficiency, the government will go for artificial increase of the content of that particular micronutrient. That is food fortification, deliberately increasing the content of that micronutrient. You have some benefits also with respect to this. That is why this strategy has been adopted by the government at a pan scale. Obviously government went for some pilot case studies, and after the benefits came out of that pilot studies, the scheme was adopted on a pan India basis. And why it is so much important, we will be guessing from our benefits. See, a pilot project was implemented with respect to the fortified rice in Maharashtra's Gadchiroli district, which has witnessed what government found after the implementation of this scheme was that the cases of anemia, we already know that every second woman is anemic in India, it basically decreased from almost 59% to 29.5% just within the span of 2 years. That much helpful and crucial it is. That is the significance of this basically food fortification. It was able to reduce the micronutrient deficiency with respect to anemia by half within the 2 years. Okay, then the distribution of fortified rice through public safety nets. What are public safety nets? That is your PDS, integrated child development scheme. Then you have PM Poshan, which can help reduce the micronutrient deficiencies. Obviously, why this micronutrient deficiency scheme basically becomes important for children, for this is where I will highlight you also. This is where you will use the statistics that has been provided to you in the starting of this class, that you can state that, see, National Family Health Survey 5, what does it state? That basically the data with respect to wasting and with respect to stunting of the children, that can be quoted here. That is why this basically scheme is very much important for us. Moving forward, then you have the case of noon meal scheme basically in Gujarat. Okay, what basic this again, this meal scheme, obviously this pilot project studies can be also highlighted with respect to the way forward, that this kind of initiatives can be introduced, okay, at the pan India scale or by the state governments. Then basically here fortified rice intervention for school children was done as a part of midday meal scheme. And what did the basically was the benefit of this? That the government found increased hemoglobin concentration, first point. Okay, then you have 10% reduction in anemic prevalence, that is your second benefit here, and improved average cognitive scores, basically development of the mind as well as basically what was found, that as the content of nutrients increased, okay, it also helped in your mind development, which was found in research studies, that cognitive scores also improved. And the major benefit again here is with respect to the global phenomena. This scheme has been adopted on a global basis. At least 80 countries have framed laws for the fortification of cereal flours, and 130 countries with respect to iodized salt, and 13 countries have mandated rice fortification. After seeing the benefits of this micronutrient basically food fortification, the number of reductions in the micronutrient deficiencies that was witnessed, the phenomena has been adopted on a global scale. So you must be very well aware with respect to the benefits that are provided with respect to the food fortification, the strategy that has been adopted by the government. Okay, that is basically noon meal scheme study was done. Then you have case study of Maharashtra's Gadchiroli district and how it has been adopted on a basically global phenomena. Then before moving to next topic, one thing more you have to do here is, obviously I have highlighted to you the benefits of food fortification. The one thing you more have to do is, what are the issues with respect to food fortification? Is this a full panacea for quelling the micronutrient deficiency? I will write here, is this the panacea for reducing micronutrient deficiency? That is what you have to do. One point I will provide to you here, that for example, if going for an iron food fortification, it can cause excess of iron nutrition in children. That is also a problem. Every nutrient is required with some particular amount is required in our body, and excess food fortification can cause the excess nutrition, basically specifically iron nutrition in children. There are some other points that you will be writing about this. Okay, is this a panacea for reducing micronutrient deficiency? That is a task you have to perform. Moving to our next topic, that is with respect to the drug smuggling. Again, you would have witnessed the article there was a recent study basically that was highlighted by the Ministry of Statistics, okay, which highlighted that the rise of basically drug use in India is increasing, okay, and how that can affect basically the national security of the country. And there are some strategies that are adopted by the government with respect to reduce the this cycle of drug smuggling, and what can be the way forward with respect to this. First of all, why India is witnessing so much basically, or southern sub-Asian continent, that is there, Indian subcontinent, why it witnesses so much areas or basically cases of drug smuggling. You must know that India lies in the middle of Golden Crescent and Golden Triangle. Here you have basically Afghanistan, Iran, Pakistan, this area, and here Myanmar, Laos and Thailand. India witnesses the infiltration of drugs from both the basically areas from east as well as from the west, and being in the middle basically, and because of being an economic powerhouse in this region which can afford the consumption of drugs, okay, that is what attracts the basically drug smugglers to penetrate drugs in the Indian market. So what are the two areas called? These are called as Golden Crescent, and second one is called as the Golden Triangle. You must be thorough. This thing can also be asked with respect to your prelims exams, that what is Golden Crescent and what is Golden Triangle. Okay, these two areas basically, one on the west side of the India and one is on the east side of the India. And why India witnesses drug smuggling more with respect to other countries in the sub-Indian continent? That is because India is the economic powerhouse where people have the affording capacity, okay, which attracts the drug smugglers to penetrate this in the Indian market. So what does the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment highlighted? It conducted nationwide surveys in 2019 which states that opioid use has increased from 0.7% to a little more than 2% in the present node. Obviously again these statistics are very important. This can be highlighted with respect to your introduction. Okay, see this number, you must find a percentage increase very minimal, that's 0.7 to 2%, but because our population is indirect population basically is 1.5 billion, as per the official statistics it is 1.3 billion. Obviously if you will calculate this in absolute terms, you will find a very high number of increase with respect to the use of opioid, that is highlighted by the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment. See what happens is, India has a long and porous land border with the Myanmar region. Obviously you know that this is a Myanmar region, okay, and this is a northeast India part. Here what is happening is basically because we have a tribal belt here, okay, some are residing on the part of Indian side, some are residing on the basically Myanmar side. The border is not very much regulated because of the forest areas and because of the geographical conditions, due to which basically it provides a perfect scenario for the drug smugglers to smuggle the drugs. So porous land borders with Myanmar provide safe haven for entry of drugs on the eastern front, whereas on the western side the major entry point is through the ports in Gujarat. Basically here you must have seen various number of news in the newspapers that highlight about the basically raids on the ports and the drug amount of billions of dollars that have been caught by the police department. So these are the two areas, and you must know that because we are also vulnerable on the coastal sides, 2611 also happened through the through the use of coastal areas, okay, because we have lax regulation, and because due to some geographical conditions these areas cannot be 24/7 strictly monitored. We are monitoring them, but due to some reasons basically the areas have some laxity with respect to regulations, because of which basically the drug smugglers penetrate in the Indian territory. Now what are the challenges with respect to these things? see, first challenge is why does it create an issue for us? The first thing is basically what we are witnessing is the increased use of dark web and cryptocurrency such as Bitcoin, and you must know that these both are basically out of government regulation. These both the things are out of government regulation, due to which basically these areas are used for terrorist financing as well. Okay, see, these are used by drug peddlers and buyers. The anonymity basically the dark web provides, it makes it difficult for the enforcement authorities to track the movement of drugs or even seize the money in the cryptocurrency. Basically cryptocurrency is a perfect heaven that is provided to the drug smugglers and the terrorists, because that money is out of the government regulation. That creates a basically challenging situation for the enforcement authorities. Then, as we have already discussed, with its long porous borders and lengthy coastline location between the golden crescent of the Southwest Asia and golden triangle of the Southeast Asia, India is greatly susceptible to the drug trade. As I have already highlighted to you that this is India, and here you have a golden triangle that consists of Myanmar, Laos and Thailand. Okay, and here you have a golden crescent in the form of this, where you have Iran, Afghanistan and Pakistan. Okay, and both the areas basically, because India is in the middle of these two crescents, that is why it witnesses a rise with respect to the drug smuggling. Then you have basically, this is also we have discussed, that the northeast region faces shortage of staff and equipment to tackle the illicit traffic of the drugs. First is basically why there is so much issues with respect to the tackling of the drug smuggling on this area on the eastern front. First of all, I have already told you that geographical conditions are there, then there are social conditions with respect to the movement of the tribe, then there are some infrastructural conditions with respect to the shortage of staff and the shortage of equipment, which makes it difficult to basically track the drug movements across the country. Next is with respect to the nexus that operates between the drug traffickers and the criminal networks, and as well as the terrorists. What kind of, we have discussed in this one of our previous classes also, because the roots, the basically individuals, okay, all the basically things are interchangeably used by these individuals, the traffickers and the criminal networks and the terrorists. They exploit the trafficking routes of terrorists with the help of well-entrenched criminal networks to infiltrate with the arms. The routes that are used for drug smuggling are also used for the basically trafficking of arms, are also used for the trafficking of humans. They are also used for the drug smuggling areas. Then basically the individuals that are used for the criminal activities, they are also used for the organized crime operations. That is why it is a worrisome condition for India, and in that context you have a well established example of 2611 that happened in India. Then first, another major issue is basically it is the challenge is accentuated by the country's large size and a huge pharmaceutical industry. Okay, that is basically another critical base. Large size, we already know that, you must have studied this. See, here we have a problem with respect to coast on the both the sides. Then we have a issue with respect to the tracking of the movement in the forest areas. Then here we have Himalayas, mountain regulation that makes it difficult. Then here basically the borders with respect to Pakistan. So the large size of the country basically makes it a huge task for the drug enforcement agencies, and its geographical conditions further accentuate this problem. And a large pharmaceutical industry, basically the use of pharmaceutical products like meth and all the ABC type of products, basically it creates a challenge for the drug enforcement agencies to tackle that. Then drug traffickers often ally with insurgent groups, those who create insurgency situations in India. Maoists are there, Naxalites are there, basically, and state sponsored criminal activities are there. Okay, they align with these type of groups to buy a controlling interest in governments that they cannot overthrow by force. Basically, they create some sort of nexus to operate within the country's territory, so that basically their operations can be run smoothly. So what are the basically challenges that we have witnessed on this page? That is a nexus between the drug traffickers and the criminal individuals, which results in exploitation of the trafficking routes by the terrorists. Then the large size and the geographical conditions of the country and the pharmaceutical size, which provides the products that are used in the drug industry. Then at last you have here is basically the alliance of the drug traffickers with the insurgent groups to run their operations smoothly within the territory of the country. Moving forward, next, what are the measures that have been taken by the government in this regard? See, first of all, you can state that National Crime Bureau you have, it is the primary agency. This thing can also be asked with respect to your prelims exams. It is the primary agency responsible for curbing the trade in illicit drugs and the persecution of criminals. It also shares intelligence with another agencies that, for example, that are posted on the borders. For example, BSF is there, CRPF is there, all these kind of agencies. Then it is also required to take the actions to control drug trafficking under the, you have a particular act, that is NDP Act, that is Narcotics, Drug and Psychotropic Substances Act of 1855, that basically the power here is given to NCB. Then you have a Project Sunrise here, which was launched specifically for the northeast region to tackle the high rising HIV prevalence, especially among the people injecting the drugs, that is there. Then India have specifically launched a campaign that is called the Nasha Mukt Bharat campaign. Okay, that was launched to basically remove the drug prevalence activities. What is the basically NCB is there, then the you have a specifically act that is assigned to it, Narcotics Act, then you have a Project Sunrise, and then you have a Nasha Mukt Bharat Abhiyan. Moving forward, next basically you have is a Narco Coordination Center that was established in 2016 as a mechanism under the NCB, which was restructured into a district level scheme. Okay, again very important, Narco Coordination Center. And at last you have a digital portal that is called as a Seizure Information Management System, Seizure Information Management System, which was launched again under the Narcotics, Drugs and Psychotropic Substance Act, that is NDPS Act, basically for better coordination of all drug law enforcement agencies. So you can, the question basically what can be asked in mains is that we must know, see what are, just give me a second, what are the challenges with respect to drug smuggling. Okay, and next thing can be asked is what are the measures that have been taken by the government in this regard, and at last what can be the way forward or what more can be done with respect to controlling the situations like this. Or another thing that can be asked here is with respect to this topic is why India basically acts as a destination region for drug smugglers, okay, or those who act in these kind of criminal activities. Okay, that is also has been discussed in detail with respect to this kind of thing. So you must know what are the measures, that is NCB is there, NDPS Act is there, Project Sunrise is there, Nasha Mukt Abhiyan is there, then you have Narco Coordination Center, then you have a e-portal, Seizure Information Management portal, basically which coordinates the activities of all the drug enforcement agencies. Then we will also be discussing the what is the way forward, what can more be done with respect to this thing. See, what we can do is effective coordination among the enforcement agencies. For example, when you gain intelligence, okay, that must be promptly shared with the other agencies like BSF, those who are posted at borders, so that criminals can be nabbed. This kind of coordination, effective coordination is done, and that will happen only through, like I have highlighted, basically sharing of the intelligence. Next thing we need to know is basically creating awareness among our citizens so that they do not become prone to the usage of these type of products, and if somebody is promoting the use of these things, they basically inform to the police authorities so that that kind of individuals can be nabbed. Then we need to do something with respect to the infrastructure also. Infrastructure, and what can be done with respect to that is basically creation of de-addiction centers as well as the camps where individuals can be rehabilitated. What is the task of this? Rehabilitation. Okay, and at last basically we need the enhancement of punish under the Illegal Drug Control Act so that this punishment acts as a deterrence for individuals who basically indulge in these type of criminal activities. Okay, so that basically the law can create a force where individuals are fearful of indulging in these kind of activities. So what is the basically nutshell here? That is a coordination between the agencies through sharing of intelligence, creating awareness among citizens, focusing on infrastructure creation through your de-addiction centers, and at last basically filling the loopholes of the law. So these are the two topics that were important with respect to your weekly current affairs. We will be meeting again. Okay, so all the best. The question with respect to this, the mains question will be shared in the description. Okay, and the video will be uploaded as usual. So all the best for your future studies. Thank you.